All right. Well, good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Tacobout Live with Frank and Manny here in Del Rio, Texas, for another episode.
What's up, brother?
Good morning, brother. How you doing, man?
Good.
Yeah, last week we were out, and so I apologize for that. But we're here this week today, and so we want to just welcome you all here joining us. We got a lot, of course, to talk about. Politics, and even more politics and things that are happening here in our nation is just insane, man. Especially here in this district. You know, you're probably going to get tired of hearing his name. I know I am with Tony Gonzalez, but man, Frank, he's proven what we warned about, right? He's proven to be what we warned about. Just a rhinocrat, a Democrat with the R next to his name. Yeah. But he's proven it. He's proven it, and he's continued to prove it. He's gone against every Republican in the House, and even his fellow Texan Chip Roy, and he's gone against his constituents and people who voted for him, and America and Texas, you name it, brother.
You know who he hasn't gone against, bro? Is the Open Borders pro-amnesty lobby.
Oh, you're right.
That's the only loyalty the guy has to the pocket, to the wallet, and to the Open Borders, America hating, America destroying amnesty lobby, which there's plenty in the Republican Party, bro.
Yeah.
You know that's the dirty laundry. That's the elephant in the room within the elephant party. But it is. Now a revelation for folks, and he is quickly becoming one of the most hated rhinos in Texas and in America, bro. Yeah. And he's showing his colors, with his voting record, with his actions. He voted against the rules package. We'll definitely expand on that.
Yep.
But he said he's against impeaching Alejandro Mayorkas, the congressman with the most border. Of U.S.-Mexico border.
Yeah, almost more than 50% of the border, right?
123 miles, and Alejandro Mayorkas single-handedly, doing the at the beck and call of Biden and Biden's handlers, the globalist, open borders globalist, has said that he's not for impeaching Alejandro Mayorkas, man. And so not only that, then he comes out and he says that anything that has to do with limiting immigration, he's gonna be against. He calls it extremism. He says he's not one of these Republican extremists. Of course not, because he's a Democrat.
He's a Democrat, bro.
He's an open borders Democrat.
Yeah, that's right. As a matter of fact, he was from my understanding, he was pretty upset that his fellow Democrats didn't invite him when Biden came. Supposedly he came. He went to El Paso.
Yeah.
What section of the border he went to? A lot of people aren't really sure what section of the border he went to, bro. That's pretty interesting because they sanitized and they cleaned up everything. Like thousands of illegal aliens were all of a sudden gone. The streets were cleaned, and it's pretty amazing what occurred. Same thing happened over here when Mayorkas came to Del Rio. All of a sudden, all the Haitians were gone under the bridge. But apparently, Gonzalez was pretty upset that he wasn't invited to tour the border. But yet, we didn't see him make any. If I were me, I would have just shown up. This is my district. I'm showing up, man. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. He said he's not this crazy extremist Republican. He even said he's jumping up and down, pushing against his own party. Yep. But yeah, he is pushing against his own party for the wrong reasons. Yeah. He went against the House rules package. He rejected the impeachment of Mayorkas, and he's also against. Chip Roy's border security package.
Yeah. He was the only Texan to be against it, bro.
In which I read
Republican.
And I'm trying to bring it up here. I'll bring it up here shortly because I like what Chip Roy had to say. I love almost everything that Chip Roy has to say.
Yeah.
But in this border security framework bill that Chip Roy is pushing, in there, Frank, he has delineated defunding NGOs completely.
Yeah.
Defunding NGOs completely, and of course, Tony Gonzalez is against that. Why? Because he's in bed with the NGOs.
He's in bed.
It's interesting to me, and I don't know if it's coincidental, but he moves his office out of the Endeavors building once people started announcing they want to investigate NGOs. I don't know. That kind of seems.
Yeah, so there's a term for that we have in the Border Patrol. It's called brushing out.
It's called brushing out.
And that's what the criminal element does. The criminal element brushes out. And what I'm referring to, folks, is whenever, for you all that live on the border, been to the border, you'll see the vehicles out here dragging tires. And so they're tearing up the dirt, creating a layer of dust. so that, or loose dirt, so that the illegal aliens, as they're walking across, they'll leave their footprints, and they'll brush out. They'll break a branch, and then they'll try to sweep it out. And so it's become now a term for whenever you're trying to backtrack something, but more than that, when you're trying to cover up nefarious deeds of darkness,
Yep.
dirty deeds done, kind of stuff. And, so Tony Gonzalez is trying to brush out the fact that for 2 years, his first term, he was at the Endeavors building. Endeavors is an NGO that has gotten, over $500 million, bro. Almost $700-800 million in government contracts to move people into the United States as part of Biden's, human smuggling operation.
Yep.
So he moved out of that facility, of course, because there's a crackdown coming down, not so much from, and Abbott says he's going to do whatever Abbott said he was going to do. But I think that with the Republicans in control, bro, the oversight committees, and now with the power to be able to launch investigations.
Yeah.
I think that's why he, and we know, that's why he bailed out on Endeavors, because he's brushing out, and that's what corrupt criminal people do. Did I just call Tony Gonzalez a criminal? Yeah, I did. There's a lot of things about this guy that people know, and mark my words here, Manny, that in some point in the future, I would not be surprised if more comes to light about this guy. He went to the Ukraine in August of 2021.
Yep.
And 6 months later, war breaks out, and there's a lot of money that gets sent over to the Ukraine, by Congress. Over over $80 billion now that has been sent over there.
Yeah.
Yep. And some people have said, close to $100 billion. But so we'll see what comes to light with this Tony Gonzalez tracking Tony the Rhino.
It's amazing to me because when he started throwing his fit there, and I'll pass about the Biden's tour, the Democrats are with Biden, with Escobar Cuellar, Vicente Gonzalez, that toured the border with him. And it's interesting because he teamed up with Cuellar, right?
Yeah, he teamed up with Cuellar, and he actually has worked with Veronica Escobar, who is the Congressional District 16 Democrat. And they actually teamed up together on some stuff in the last term. And so she's the one that was sending her staff,
Right.
U.S. taxpayers paid staff into Juarez, Ciudad Juarez, in the state of Chihuahua, Mexico,
Yeah.
and coaching these illegal aliens. Well, at that point, they're, foreigners, whatever, coaching them as, as to when they come into the country, what to say, as far as the asylum process, coaching them on, the correct phrases and terminology when they go through this asylum vetting process.
And what's interesting, because she was basically training them how to claim asylum in the United States, which folks, you don't do. When to legally claim asylum, you do it in the first country you come into contact with, which is, for many of them, Mexico, Guatemala, even Nicaragua, and that's where you claim asylum. You don't cross illegally and then try to claim asylum. Yeah. And so it's a lot of people don't understand that, and then
there's a more formal process to that, Manny. And so what he said, that why he's in opposition to Chip Roy's plan is because he says that it would, wipe out, erase all kinds of asylum, including asylum, legal asylum. So,
but Frank, as well as I do, and just about every border patrol agent that's watching this. And again, thank you so much for what you're all doing, man. You guys are in a hard spot right now, and thanks to this guy too. But a lot of people, what puzzles me, Frank, is a lot of people don't realize that these so-called asylum seekers aren't even seeking asylum, because the majority of them don't even show up to their asylum hearings.
Bro, and we've interviewed them, we've spoken with them, and so have others, man. I mean, they're coming over for economic reasons, bro. They're coming over to take advantage of the system. They're coming because this is America, greatest nation on the face of the earth, at least until, we'll see what the rest of the Biden administration does here, trying to destroy America, and you better stock up on stoves, or maybe buy some, because they're trying to wipe out even even gas cooking, propane burners.
Yeah, and maybe we'll get a chance to touch upon that
Yeah,
too.
don't mess with my tortillas,
Oh,
man.
no, man. We gotta have our tacos, man. I got my taco waiting over here right now.
And the best ones are the ones that are heated up on fire, man.
Oh, yeah.
But anyways, this guy definitely is pro amnesty, bro. Pro open borders. We have documented extensively his relationship. He came out of the Democrat LULAC machine in Bexar County, San Antonio.
Yeah.
We try to warn everybody. And shame, honestly, shame, bro. Shame on Republicans, who call themselves conservative, who call themselves America First, call themselves patriots, that said, for the sake of the brand, for the team, we're going to keep this guy in office. Well, how do you like him now? Now that he...
and it was like immediate, right? It was like immediately he showed his colors, man.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of speculation. I've even said it, man. I would not be surprised at all if this guy goes Democrat, man.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it would just be just the final, tying up the loose ends. He acts like a Democrat, votes like a Democrat, talks like a Democrat, hangs out with Democrats. And he's got to be a duck.
And I'm gonna show this video here shortly, man. Where he calls the Freedom Caucus the Insurgency Caucus.
Insurgency extremists.
Extremists, right? And who's on that caucus? Chip Roy's on that caucus, right? And
a lot of good Americans.
A lot of good conservative Americans are on that caucus. They're the ones who were, of course, really slamming Kevin McCarthy. In which they should have,
Yeah, you got to call it out.
Yeah, you got to call him out. And of course, the one who didn't call out McCarthy was standing right behind him. McCarthy's the most liberal Republican in the House. Next to him, Tony Gonzalez, right? The second most liberal Republican, so-called Republican. But real quick, I just want to put this up here. It's part of Chip Roy's border initiative, border security framework bill, and right there in big letters, man, he has. Defund all NGOs, entities, and programs actively encouraging the violation of our border security and related laws. And it's amazing because he says right here, hundreds of these NGOs receive hundreds of millions in federal grants each year to assist individuals in the journey across the border, to further assist individuals after they are released into the interior. And you and I, Frank, we've talked to people regarding these NGOs, and a lot of them thought, and were under the impression, and still under the impression, that they're basically just operating on donations.
Yeah, the director of the local NGO here, she even lied to her face. She lied on cameras and said they're not getting any taxpayer funds for this, man. I mean, and they are, bro. It takes a lot of money to do what these NGOs are doing, what these bus transportation companies are doing. And real quick, 2 points, bro. Shame on the Border Patrol Council, the Border Patrol Union, for endorsing this guy. A shame on them. And then also, man, I gotta really, hey, look, I love my brothers and sisters in green, but I'm just amazed at the number, bro, as I'm finding out more and more about, retired Border Patrol agents, some of them at the highest levels, who are getting involved in this money-making, human smuggling scheme. Yeah. Retired Border Patrol agents, retired DHS personnel, ICE, personnel.
Chartering buses, bro.
Starting to, getting into this, running, directing operations at these centers where children are being kept, getting into these contracts, with the federal government. Look, hey, I get it. You want to make money. But look, making money is not everything. And certainly, Manny, not at the cost of your soul, bro, not at the cost of your morals. This invasion that's taking place on the border, brother, is top cover for the trafficking of children. Oh, yes. It is cover for the movement of women and children into our country, and that is freaking devilish, man. It's demonic, it's evil, it's immoral, and I mean, don't get me started up. And so, I just gotta say, man, I understand you want to make a buck. I would rather freaking flip burgers, at some little taco hut, buy me a little mobile taco truck and sell tacos, $3 at a time, than sell my soul and get involved with the movement of children and women into this country, bro. Yeah. It's immoral. I mean, I just gotta say it. It's immoral.
It is immoral because we all know, and we've served in the border patrol long enough where we've seen human sex trafficking, brother. We've seen children being used for immoral means, and at that, during that time, at least we were able to investigate whether or not these were like fraudulent families, and at least try to put a dent into it. And even under President Trump, ICE and HSI were making significant ground
And
arrests.
all Trump had to say was, "I'm going to be tough on the border, man," and freaking people knew it.
And people knew it.
Yeah. So, real quick thought, man. Just for you folks out there that are watching that know this hypocrite Brandon Judd. He's the president of the National Border Patrol Council. I mean, bro, just the hypocrisy, man. The gall that this guy has to go in front of Fox News and all these camera shows and everything and talk about border security and sit there and wail and whine against the Biden administration when they're playing both sides. They have endorsed Democrats in the past, bro.
Yep.
They endorsed Henry Cuellar. They've endorsed other Democrats in the past. They endorsed Tony Gonzalez, who is enemy number one as far as border security goes. The guy talks a lot about border security, but Gonzalez has proven himself to be an open border amnesty, anti-America, puppet for George Soros and LULAC. And Brandon Judd and his National Executive Council for the Border Patrol Council, it's another word for union, endorsed this guy. They've endorsed Democrats in the past. They can't run around saying that they are for border security in front of every camera that'll freaking have him out there in front and say they're for border security when they endorse people. And it's not like they got, the rug pulled out from under them. Yeah. You could see this coming a mile away, bro.
Oh, yeah.
You could see it coming a mile away.
If people, excuse me, ask, how do we call it? Tony Gonzalez's behavior recently, and all I have to do is tell him. You could see it. You could see it. All you have to do was vet this guy. Yeah. All you have to do is look at his past behavior, follow the money. That's all you have to do, folks. Frank and I weren't talking against this guy because we dislike him. We're trying to warn people that this is exactly what he was going to do. Yeah. That's all you have to do. Like I remember, I had some friends, sad to say, that voted for Obama in his first term, right? And I kept warning him, don't do it. This is what he's going to do. This is what he's going to do. And then when he started doing what I said he was going to do, they asked me, how did you know? I said, brothers, all you have to do is look at his history.
Or his lack of history.
Yeah, I mean, it's just,
but his words as well. Look, bro, I mean, that's the other thing. You got to read between the lines, man, and apply some critical thinking skills here. But as far as Gonzalez goes, look, we served in the military, bro. You served, a little bit longer than I did. I served 3 years. I think you served, what, 6 years? And then we served in the Border Patrol, 25, 30 years in the Border Patrol. But underlying that, Manny, is this adherence to law and order, living our life, conducting our operations, according to rules, regs, policies, procedures, SOPs. Yeah. And of course, over all that is the Word of God, which is, regulations for living life. It's policy, it's good policy. It's good. It's good principles applied to life. These principles pay off. These principles help you through the storms of life. It might not be all rosy, peachy keen kind of life. I mean, talk to the martyrs that are living the faith and dying for the faith, outside the United States, because we don't know true suffering like some of our brothers and sisters in the faith do. But anyways, we live by applying a moral code and the rules of man to our lives and to how we conduct business. And so when this guy started running for office while he was still in the Navy, bro, it violated directives and it violated the Uniform Code of Military Justice. And so a person who in uniform starts violating the law, bro, there is no restraint. No, there is no fear, moral fear that invisible barrier that holds your hand, that stops you from acting contrary to law, to the Word of God, to principle, to civil, the basic tenets and rules of a civilized society. Yeah. He had no restraint. And then he comes out and he says he's going to run in Congressional District 35. Yep. And switches over after he went on this long sob story about, I went away for 20 years. I came back, and for my friends and family who have been forgotten, and I'm here for them. I'm going to fight for them. And just like that, bro.
Oh, Will Hurt is gone. Oh, Will Hurt isn't in 23 anymore. Boom, and he jumps over. And, of course, Will Hurt endorses him. And
Yeah.
and actually, I'm reading stuff about Will Hurd. All of a sudden, he's trying to make a resurgence, and apparently, there's talk that maybe of a 2024 run. And this guy's in bed with the Democrats as well.
A run for Congress or for president?
For president.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely would try to poke holes in that as fast as possible. But look, Tony Gonzalez is a perfect example of why we don't want Will Hurd in office, because Gonzalez is just Will Hurd, not even 2.0, bro. He's like 5.0 or something. This guy's a full-blown Democrat.
Yeah, to the max.
But anyways, those were the indications, man. When there is a code, in this case, the oath of office, the oath to the Constitution, and you can't live up to that. Right. That's fair warning to everybody that this is an immoral
and that's an indication,
person,
right?
Yeah.
That's an indication that he was willing to,
that nothing is beneath him,
right? And that he's willing to violate the United States Code of Military Justice, and in running for office while he's still in the military, which is against the United States Code of Military and against the law as well. But when you're willing to do that, what else are you willing to do? And of course, we see what he's willing to do. We saw what he's willing to do and what he continues to do.
Yep.
Being in bed with the NGOs. And in my opinion, these non-governmental organizations, Frank, are the largest human trafficking, sex trafficking organizations right now in the United States. Hundreds of billions of dollars being utilized to sex traffic our children. And not only sex traffic, folks, but Frank, you posted a video not too long ago, and I want to try to cue it up. I'm trying to look for it, but of smugglers talking about using children for organ harvesting.
Oh yeah. So that was a Fox report. I think it was I forget, maybe Sarah Carter. I think it was Sarah Carter that was talking. Yeah. But real quick, bro. Look, we served like I said, Border Patrol, 55 combined years here, but recently. There have been some deaths in Border Patrol. Some folks have died, young folks. But one of the old patrol guys, Tommy McClendon, just passed away. They called him El Colorado, the red one, El Colorado. And he was in the anti-smuggling unit back in the glory days when these guys would go and run surveillance in Mexico, bro, and
get smuggled.
My dad was anti-smuggling unit, and he acted as a load driver, bro. I mean, and I told him, man, wasn't that creepy, Dad? I mean, you're in a carload full of illegal aliens. You're undercover as a smuggler. And it's just him and his partner. And I said, were you packing? Of course. He said, of course. I had, he had an ankle holster. But anyways, that was the glory days of Border Patrol work, the anti-smuggling unit. That's what us young bucks aspire to get involved with. These guys would go run operations in Mexico, and all kinds of cool stuff. But anyways, Tommy passed away. Man. But that's a code, Manny. That these people live by a code, and they risk their lives, believing in the code, believing in the oath to defend and protect America. And we have congressmen, elected officials at every level, man. Yeah. Elected persons who are disregarding and in some cases point blank flying against the oath of office, the purpose of office, the trust and responsibility that's been given to them by taxpayers. They're doing contrary. They're lining their pockets. And so my question is, when are Americans, Texans, just going to get tired of that, bro? And people, look.
Or get courageous and vote for. You don't have to stay within the party.
Vote for the person.
You got to vote. And look at what they're going to do. Look at their history. Look at what they've been doing. For me, Frank, people like Tony Gonzalez he's like slapping us in the face of all the work that the Border Patrol has done since its inception. Keeping illegal aliens out, deporting people, keeping terrorists out, risking their lives like your father did, like other ASU agents have done, like Border Patrol agents continue to do. He's just slapping us all in the face, man. All that work and all that sacrifice that we've done over the years to try to protect our country and to uphold the oath, it's a slap in the face. Just like Mayorkas when he went to the border and he had the gall to wear the Newton Azrak patch on his jacket when he's the one who set free their murderers.
And background, he was one of the district attorneys.
One of the district attorneys,
and he released one of the murders, and that just points, bro, to just how in your face these people are. And so you said something, and I'll say it, man. Shame on any person, any Republican that says they're conservative, they're a patriot, that they're America first. Shame on you if you voted and supported And through your silence, endorsed a person like Tony Gonzalez.
Yeah.
You know, look, there's a lot of things that a person, would gloat about. It's not necessarily gloating, Manny, but it is about, look, we try to warn you. We told you about
Yeah.
the situation here for this district, but case in point to the larger picture, Republicans are now in control of Congress, bro.
Yeah.
And what they're trying to do, Chip Roy and Matt Gaetz and Lauren Boebert and several others are trying to do good, etc. Cloud, they are trying to steer this ship. You know, they're trying to take a train that's headed on one railway. They're trying to get it over to another railway. They're trying to shift the way that they operate in Congress. And part of that, Manny, is reducing debt. Part of it is transparency with our government. Part of it is the accountability, launching investigation and questioning the bureaucrats, the deep state, the entrenched bureaucrats about the way they're using our tax dollars and what are their goals and their agenda. And that's the role of Congress. And so, in essence, Gonzalez voted against doing the will of the people. He voted against representatives doing the work that people have elected them to go do. And so that's what makes it more egregious. And people get lost in this whole thing about, hey, we look bad, we look dysfunctional. Folks, you have got to, get outside that, party first. These are blinders. These are blinders that have been put on you so that you see only the way that they want you to see. And they're yanking on your chain. They're pulling on your bit to control you a certain way. You got to take those blinders off. And so it was awesome to see what these 20 Republicans did. Yeah, some people say, I would have never voted. There came a point there, Manny, where if they didn't get, conceivably, somebody else could get in, even conceivably, a Democrat or a more, there's somebody else that would not be as open, I guess you could say, because finally McCarthy got open to the work that Chip Roy and them, and I wondered over the summer, I was like, what the heck is Chip Roy doing hanging out with Kevin McCarthy? And why is he going down to the border with him and Tony Gonzalez of all people? Yeah. Well, this is when he was working on him, and he was one of, if not the chief negotiators for what they've done. And so, yeah, it was a big picture, Manny, and it's something that we learn to do in government. You use the system against itself. You use the processes against themselves. See, I always used to say it. I was a supervisor, I was a manager, but we had to deal with the union. And how are you guys in the union loving, Brandon Judd and Tony Gonzalez and Mayorkas right now? But anyways, when we had to deal with the union, I would always say management does it to itself. Yeah. They put themselves in a corner because why? Because they act like emperors. They act like tyrants. They think that they are above the rules and the policies and the procedures. It's my way or the highway. It's do as I say, not as I do kind of behavior by upper management. And they would back themselves up into a corner where they would lose cases in the way that they treated employees. But it was because of arrogance, and it was because of their ignorance, and they were blind, and also because they would lose touch with the oath of office, and maybe some of them didn't even know, Manny, that they were put in those positions because God put them in those positions. Yeah, God is the one that promotes.
When you're saying, as you're talking about this, I remember years ago when I remember when Chief Berg asked us to do a manager training, right? And through the chaplaincy, and we both. We're instructing on servanthood leadership. Yeah. At the higher, in the military, the higher you become in rank, the more of a servant you should be, right? And so we applied that. Well, the scriptures teach the same thing. Yeah. You applied that, and a lot of people got upset. Remember, a lot of people got upset because sometimes, and I'm not slamming, a lot of, everybody, but there are some people. And it's in every agency,
every
organization that the higher you become, you think that people are there to work for you and to serve you, but that's not the case. The same thing with these elected officials. This government is for the people, by the people.
Yep.
And Abraham Lincoln said the best. In the Constitution, we the people, or I mean the independents, we the people. If folks, and I think we've gotten away from that. And when people get questioned, like these Democrats and these liberal Republicans, when they get questioned, they're called out and they get offensive. And start trying to defend themselves and start lashing out. The reason is because they're not used to being called out and having their feet held to the fire. Yeah. That's why it took so long with Kevin McCarthy. Right, because his fellow Republicans, and they should have, and that they have every right to call him out, to hold his feet to the fire.
And it's a beautiful thing to see how they use the system. And look, this is the greater principle here, folks. It was the power of the few who were bold, who were brave, who were intelligent, who took a stand. They used the system to get their way. Yeah. They used...
Well, not only their way, but the way of the American people.
The way of the American people. And when I say that, it's because they are elected representatives representing a lot of people. And so, yeah, you're right. And that's what I love about Chip Roy's eloquence and, saying, we're doing the work, the will of the American people. At least we should be.
And I want to play this video real quick before I forget, because this video kind of shows exactly... there's a huge difference between Chip Roy and Tony Gonzalez, right? And Chip Roy is about we the people, and then I want you to hear Tony Gonzalez's language here and how he talks about the insurgency caucus, right?
If this insurgency caucus decides to put anti-immigrant legislation on the floor and masquerade it as border security policy, that's not going to fly. And I will do everything in my power to make sure that type of legislation fails on the floor.
So here he is. I, right? Nothing about, his constituents, nothing about his district, nothing about protecting the border. It's all about his own personal issues that he has with, now he calls them the Insurgency Caucus. Yeah. They're called the Freedom Caucus, insulting fellow Texans, fellow Americans, and wanting to secure our border.
And he's so flippant about it, bro. He threw out a post and said, I spent my whole life fighting against insurgents.
What is he talking? Bro, he was in the office, man.
You're a radio operator. Come on, bro. So maybe you were in the theater.
I'm not trying to take anything away from anybody like that, but he wasn't in combat, man.
Yeah, he makes it sound, I fought insurgents. Yeah, like you were kicking in doors with what, walkie-talkie in your hand. I mean, come on. That's a disservice. And people haven't done enough to call him out on that. And I kind of wonder, bro, about the people that served with him. Really, just because you knew this guy who's now a congressman, you're keeping silence about the truth of who he really is. And that's a problem, Manny. Look, we use the system. I went and ran for office using the system given to Americans, the process to run for office. Yeah. And we had so many people that call themselves Republicans. I can't support you, man, Frank. You're the right man for the job, but we gotta vote for the brand. And I'm sitting there thinking, wow, bro, it says a lot, Manny. Yeah. It says a lot about that. And look, it might sound a little bit harsh, but I'm just going to say it, man. I mean, there comes a time when these lofty principles, these lofty ideas, this vision of the way it should be, you've got to act for it to become a reality. Yeah. You've got to make your decisions based on that vision, based on those morals, based on that, those invisible principles. You have to make a stand. And praise God that our founding fathers stood on high, lofty, unseen principles. Yep. You see the effect in life. You see the effect in the world. You see the effect in the physical. But they are unseen principles. And thank God that our founding fathers stood on that. The brave defenders at the Alamo stood on that. And these 20 Republicans stood on that. That's why we have stood, bro. Sometimes, in the face of animosity, in the face of opposition and disagreement, we stand on principle and we speak the truth, because there comes a point when you stop talking about it and you have to act on it. And that's why I'm saying, look, if God is calling you to run for office, maybe you're not going to win, but in the process, God has a reason, and part of that, bro, is to expose, and it's to peel back the layers on situations and on issues and on dynamics, pulling back the layers. And so part of, as I've assessed this, my run for Congress, bro, was to pull back the layers. People saw votes stolen. The election system, the election process has not been secured here in America. You know, but people also see the behavior of their elected officials like Gonzalez outright lying about me and others. Gonzalez not willing to face his elected constituents, and you know, so it's there's consequences to actions, and part of that is, you know, whatever God is working out. And so this rule package that was passed, you know, they had hammered out part of it during the summer. The one remaining issue was the ability to, you know, hold the Speaker of the House accountable and say, you're failing at your job. We're going to try to vote you out and vote somebody else in. Hey, look, man, you know, we are a republic, but that is part of the process, the representative republic that we are. And if somebody's selling out on America, somebody is selling out on our way of life, if somebody is selling out on the Constitution, heck yeah, we have to be able to call them out. Case in point, Biden, bro. I mean, you know, with all this document reveals that's going on, this guy, I have no doubt, Manny, that so many secrets have made their way because of Biden and his affiliates, his son, et cetera, et cetera. So many secrets have made their way over to our enemies, China, et cetera. You know, and it's been done for the dollar. Why? Because unscrupulous, immoral politicians sell themselves out. And in the process, they sell out us, and they sell out the USA, bro.
Well, and I have no doubt about that. You know, and that's something we can kind of segue into. You know, because the whole point of this with Gonzalez, first of all, we're in his district. We're directly affected by all this. We live here in Del Rio. We see what's happening. We've lived what's happening, and we continue to live in this area. And so even for him to reject any impeachment of Mayorkas, as well as a slap in the face to fellow Border Patrol agents. Look, and I also want
to every family that lives in this district, Manny, and every person that has lost their life, and it's in a slap of the face to every child, every person that is being trafficked, that has died in the hands of some of the most ruthless, demonic people in the face of the earth, these cartels. And so people should be outraged at this guy, man.
They should be outraged. They should be outraged because, you know, he's right now. You know, it's funny and it's interesting. He is now being called Adam Kinzinger's replacement as the face of the Rhino Republican, Tony Gonzalez. Right? Adam Kinzinger's not even allowed in meetings anymore or anything like that. He was, but you know, he's a huge Rhino Republican.
He's part of the January 6th commission along with Liz Cheney.
Along with Liz Cheney, and now they're saying that Tony Gonzalez has basically replaced him as the face of the Rhino Republican.
So he's the second Adam? No, the third Adam?
Yeah, yeah. But, you know, but folks, the whole point of that is, Frank and I talking about this, is that if you live in this district, even if you're watching this anywhere else, hold their feet to the fire. You know, call their offices, hold their feet to the fire, and let them know how you feel and what you believe. You have every right to do so. We shouldn't be afraid. We don't have to be afraid. You know, we
just don't threaten.
Yeah, don't threaten. You know, we're not calling anybody to acts of violence or anything like that. But you know, folks, you know, like with this document scandal that's going on, there's a huge double standard in this.
Big time.
You know, right now. You know, I just want to play this clip because I think I have it queued up correctly. Let me see if I can put it on here real quick. Let me see.
Mr. President, okay. Classified material next to your Corvette. What were you thinking?
Let me, I'm going to get a chance to speak on all this, God willing, soon. But as I said earlier this week, people, and by the way, my Corvette's in a locked garage, okay?
That's ridiculous. By the way, my Corvette's in a locked garage.
What a clown.
What a clown. So he has classified documents. And right, folks, I hope you understand what's happening here. You know, he has classified documents that are in his homes, in his offices, that got there when he was vice president. Why is this so serious? Look, as vice president, he has no power, no authority to declassify or even classify documents.
Yeah.
President Trump, when he had documents in his home, he had declassified them. He was the president of the United States. He can declassify documents and classify documents. And here we have this man who has, now they're finding more documents, right? They're finding more documents. No raid. No one has raided Hunter Biden's bedroom, right? They raided President Trump's son, his bedroom. They even raided his wife's bedroom, right? But nobody's gone after Hunter Biden in anything. And what's amazing about this, and we're probably going to get another warning from YouTube and Facebook. They're trying to remove a lot of our programs. But here's this double standard, right? No visitor logs in any residence, right? So it has to be somehow the Bidens have brought all this, right? And then what's amazing, Frank, as well, is that Hunter Biden's firm, from what I've read, has allowed China, right? Allowed China to become the sole how do you say stakeholder in the electric car industry, right? In bringing and gain control of electric car mineral cobalt, right? And so my point is that with all these connections, you don't think China has maybe even gained access to some of these documents?
Oh yeah, bro. I mean, look, it used to be that some things were so horrific and just outside, the realm of imagination. It was just too difficult to believe that it could even happen. And so now, if you can imagine it, it probably has happened.
Yeah.
It probably has taken place somewhere. And so, I mean, that people have walked into that garage and looked through that stuff and made copies, and that's probably possible. Look, somebody has said, why do you disrespect the president? Look, when this man is selling out your country and is stabbing our way of life, our future in the back, and putting us at great risk and peril, bro, in the face of voracious, ravenous enemies,
Yeah.
What respect does he expect to get?
Yeah.
When he is a traitor, and he is. President Biden is a traitor to America. He's a traitor to his oath. And so, people talk about respect the office or whatever. Right now, we have a person in office who is selling us out. At what point of they want to kill you, you better struggle, you better fight to survive? Do you not understand that this guy is trying to destroy America, our way of life? And at what point, do you wake up and say, this guy, he's the big bad wolf with a bunch of little baby chicks.
Yeah.
And he's letting in bigger, badder, uglier, more ruthless wolves into our country and affecting. I mean, look, you talk about the money, follow the money.
That's all you gotta do is follow the money.
He sets up his presidential library or office, whatever, at what is it, the University of Pennsylvania. And after that, the money rolls in. What was it, $35 million?
$54 million China.
From unanimous,
Anonymous.
anonymous Chinese donors.
And they did it right after the Biden Penn Center was announced.
Yes.
And that he was going to be the professor. I mean, he was going to be the one to run it.
Yeah.
And he was also named a professor, right, at Penn State.
He's going to have a class on how to wax your Corvette.
And then what's amazing, so it's amazing to me that nobody puts these things together, or it's prevented. The media's not even talking about it, right? The $54 million came from anonymous donors from China, folks, for this center.
Follow the money. Look, and whenever Biden goes somewhere, or his surrogates, his son or whatever they go someplace, the money follows it. The money follows it. I'll give you another example of how money follows Biden or his surrogates. 2020, there is the transition that takes place from Trump to Biden. A member of the Biden transition team, Andrew Lorenzen, straight whatever, becomes a board member of the NGO Endeavors. Yeah. Endeavors, whose corporate office is in San Antonio, 6363 De Zavala Road, San Antonio. So Andrew Lorenzen, a former Biden transition team member, becomes a member of the board. What follows, Manny? The money. Yep. They end up getting part of a $2 billion Health and Human Services contract.
$2 billion.
$2 billion. They were one of three companies. And then they also end up getting like an $88 million contract from ICE over at DHS. All in all, they ended up with the 5, 6, some had said up to $800 million. It just depends. People researchers have got to drill down into that. But it was investigated by Congress. But the point here is Biden or his surrogate go someplace and the money follows. And this is what this is about, folks. Biden's other surrogate, Tony Gonzalez, goes to the Ukraine with others. And what happens? The money follows.
Yep.
40 billions in one lump, 40 billion plus billion in another lump. The money follows Biden and his surrogates. And yeah, I said it. Part of the reason that Tony Gonzalez got so upset about not going to El Paso, bro, is because he thought he was in bed with them. He thought he was in bed with this big money making dynamic of money follows Biden. And so Tony Gonzalez is all about the money. Yep. That's why he got upset.
And let's not forget, he's the one who petitioned the Biden administration to fly illegal aliens out of Laughlin Air Force Base here in Del Rio as well. So he's already tried to get in bed with the Biden administration since early on. And
he even met with him in Uvalde. There's a picture of that.
He sure did. And and what's interesting as well is that all this shouldn't be surprising as well as why they're trying to get rid of oil and gas. Either the Biden administration or the Bidens themselves, as they're lining their pockets, folks, with monies from other countries, and nobody's calling them out on this, man, or people just either unwilling, or the Bible tells us that in these days people are going to become willfully ignorant, and I see it. I see it, what is happening in our world and in our nation, and to that comment about why you're disrespecting the president. Look, folks, they're elected officials. Right, they're elected officials. We have every right to call them out when we see what is wrong, a violation of the Constitution, a violation of law, and the destruction of this country is happening right before our eyes by these elected officials. Yeah. And we have every right to call them out. It's not being disrespectful; it's being honest and truthful, and wanting to defend our way of life.
Yeah, and it's spiced with a little bit of
criticism.
Border salsa.
Yeah, border salsa and some criticism. You have to be willing to be, to take criticism, as well. When you get in a certain position of leadership in anything, you have to be willing to be criticized. You have to be willing to be called out. If you're doing what's right, then you have nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
But these people are doing wrong every single day. This is the worst administration I've ever seen in my life. Like Frank and I have said before, what we see, we're familiar with the way smuggling organizations operate, folks. And
this is smuggling big time.
Nothing,
in your face.
Yeah, in your face. Nothing but a smuggling organization.
These people are entering the country illegally. Yeah. They're being transported to the border. They're being picked up at the border. In some cases, like El Paso, bro, the buses drive right up in Eagle Pass down at just south of Eagle Pass, south of the bridge down there. The buses and personnel are already waiting for them there, bro, picking them up, taking them to the processing centers. In some cases, they're not even being processed. They're being caught and just released into the communities. And look, there's a lingo that we use in the Border Patrol. The stash houses, the staging houses, the load drivers, the load vehicles. Well, and that's why at the top of the show here, Manny, I was saying, shame to these retirees that have gotten involved with this. Hey, look out, and if I see you, well, let's talk about it in person. But definitely, that's my perspective, and it's all about making money. My God, how much money do you need, bro? How much money do you need?
But isn't that what they would do at the stash houses anyway, Frank? Like they're doing at the NGOs. They're giving them information, where to go. They're giving them their contacts, right? They're giving them money.
They're coaching them on what to say.
They're coaching them what to say. They're coaching them what to do. And then they're setting up their rides.
And part of what would take place there as well, man, is these people, because they're people, but they were definitely, criminals. Yeah, they would take advantage of people, bro. And I don't know how many times, I don't know how many times it's got to be said, and the images have to be shown. Men, women, children are being taken advantage of. Women and children are being sold into slavery. Yeah. They're being used. Their bodies are being used, and it's not just immoral, bro. It's evil. It is evil, and so. Where is our heart? Where is our soul? Where is our conscience?
So who's in charge of the borders right now, folks? The cartels are the ones in charge of the borders right now, both sides. They're the ones who are. I just read an article yesterday. I think it was Oscar Blue. Is it right? That's his name?
Oscar Blue, El Blue.
Yeah, who's been keeping track of all these, things going on. He had posted that the people that are transporting all these illegal aliens to the border are policía on the other side, right? That are bringing thousands and thousands of illegal aliens and are getting paid for it, man.
Oscar Blue and Ben Berkwin, they're down. They're down in. They went to South America. They were down there. They're going to follow the process on up.
Yeah.
And so pray for them. Pray for their safety.
Pray for their safety. Yeah.
And real quick, also pray for these brave legislators, these brave representatives, and pray for the others that their eyes be open. But some are. Just pray for them. Some may be lost causes, perhaps, but hey, the Lord knows at the end of all this. But anyways, pray for these people and get involved, man. People have got to get involved. I remember some time back, somebody posted, enough talk. Enough talk. That's why I ran for office, because I'm trying to make a difference.
I was thinking about that as well. Enough talk. That's one of the reasons I joined the Army. I want to defend my country.
Yes.
I got tired talking about it. I joined the Border Patrol because I want to continue to defend my country, and I still continue.
We're still involved, bro.
We're still involved. And I want to talk about real quick before we close, before we finish up our program as well. You're talking about immoral and evil that is happening in our world. In regards to illegal immigration, the children that are being brought over here, sex trafficking, human traffic. Folks, there's an article that came out. And, kind of going to a whole nother subject, but it has to, it ties in with all the evil that's happening. There's an article by Breitbart that got posted the other day, and this is amazing to me, man. I'm going to put the headline up here real quick and read to those who are listening. Hundreds of Chicago teachers raped, sexually assaulted, and groomed students in 2022. Jeez. Investigations found out. It's amazing. It says here, according to a report released by Chicago Public Schools Office of the Inspector General, the 21 and 22 school year saw 772 investigations into teachers for allegedly raping and sexually assaulting and grooming students. This is incredible, Frank, what is happening. And sad to say, only 16 of those cases, Frank, have resulted in charges.
I'm not surprised. Chicago, right? Those are liberal, socialist, Marxist policies and persons and actions. But right here in Texas, man, look, some people say, well, yeah, what do you expect, liberal city, whatever. Hey, look at Texas.
Texas is number one in human sex trafficking.
And look at the state legislature where Dade Phelan, whatever, has just, he's the speaker of Republican, and all but 3 Republicans voted for him to be the Speaker of the House, and he is at the forefront in Texas politics, bro, in anti-children legislation, anti-children. And what I was saying by that is he is actively involved with one of his biggest donors, Howard E. Butt, with the abuse and, what do you call it, desecration of children in our state. And people need to wake up. Just because he's a Republican does not automatically make him a good person. Just
That's right.
The Democrat doesn't automatically make you a bad person. When we talk about these things, we're talking about the broader issues. But this guy is the speaker, Dade Phelan, and he is involved in the anti-child movement. Do your research. There's people out there talking about it. There's people out there researching and providing you the information, and get your heads out of the sand. Open your eyes. Kind of like the illegal aliens. You'd catch them and you shine the light on them, and they cover their face up, and they're saying, well, if I don't see them, they don't see me.
Yeah.
Folks, wake up. Wake up. There are evil persons everywhere. And there's bad Republicans just like there's good Democrats, and vice versa. Yeah.
But it was interesting, Frank, is that Breitbart also reported that the Biden administration has been attempting since it's come into office to rid Trump-era reporting requirements for teachers who sexually assault students, making it basically easier for them to get away with it.
Yeah.
And then what's called passing the trash, right? That okay, you have a problem with this teacher, let's just put him in another school, and reporting doesn't happen in these and so it actually would have reduced. There would have even been less than these 16 convictions, right? But my point in all this, folks, is that this is happening in our schools. What is it? A Round Rock school district has been fighting for a while now about getting CRT out, and then all these other what is it? drag queen.
Oh, the drag queen
Yeah,
shows.
reading and all this stuff.
Oh, yeah, the libraries
Yeah,
and-
libraries. Trying to groom our children, folks. I mean, this is insane. This is happening in our country, and
And there are some people that are resisting that. Like the other thing that just happened was the abortion, conversation that's taking place in the federal, at the congressional level. There are a few that have stood against that. I would say on the other side of the aisle. But look, this is about life,
Yeah.
and this is about protecting that life, Manny, and protecting these children because they have been created in the image of God.
Yes.
And so, that's if we as a society are not protecting these children, and if we as a society are allowing and propagating, allowing children, and yes, women, men, etc., but children to be used, to be abused, to be molested, to be raped, to be sold into sexual slavery, dude. I mean, we as a society should be taken out and shot, man, or something. I mean, look, I know those are graphic images in your face, but how evil is that? And we're allowing it to happen. Somebody here in the comments talked about the illegal immigration that's taking place. I think it was in Ireland. And the poster here, the commenter said, the people of that country are going to their borders and they are standing on their borders, bro. They don't want to see that happen.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what that means for us. I got some thoughts in my head. But maybe I'll put it within this context, Manny. We just came out of, the remembrance, the observation of Martin Luther King Jr. And what he did for civil rights. And so the way that he acted to overturn a wrong, a societal wrong. And when you get to the pure essence of what Martin Luther King wrote about, and this is supported by even like his daughter, who says his story, his image has been taken, and it has been wrongly used. But when you get to the pure essence of what he was trying to do, race relations, etc.,
but for all people,
it's on the content of the person. Man looks at the outward appearance, but God looks at the heart, and that's what Martin Luther King was talking about. And so part of that is that he spoke out, and he marched out, and he protested, peaceful protest to change society, bro. Yeah. And so,
and to change way of thinking, to change mindsets,
and that's why it's enshrined in our First Amendment. The freedom of religion, freedom of the press, freedom to assemble, freedom of speech, and to redress our grievances with our officials, bro. And that's what they did. They used the system to bring about change, like those 20 Republicans used the system to bring about change. And so, my parting thought, my parting words to our audience is, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Yeah, I ran for Congress. I'm doing this, doing other things. But it's about stepping outside your comfort zone. It's about, it's family. It's God first. It's your family. But also your family lives in this country. And your family lives in the communities that you live in. And so you have got to do something about preserving your community and preserving your country. And part of preserving our country are these great ideals, this immutable, unchanging principles that America was founded upon. And so that has to be acted upon, and it has to be defended, Manny.
No, you're right.
It has to be defended.
You're right. And if nothing else, folks, if nothing else, we always encourage, to sit in your home with your children and educate them. Educate them. And the scriptures, tell us, of course, that, one of our outcries or our pledges to the Lord, and that we say I say every morning as the sun comes up, I face Jerusalem, say every morning is Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. But when we go down, it says, these words which I am commanding you today are to be in your heart. You are to teach them diligently to your children and speak of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, when you rise up. Bind them as a sign on your hand. They are to be frontlets between your eyes, and write them on the doorposts of your home and on your gates. And actually, in our home, in every Jewish home, you have what's called a mezuzah. It's on the doorpost of our home, and in there has this actually little scroll that has the Shema on it, the Hero Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. But my point is, folks, if all else, sit down with your children, talk as a family, educate them. There are wonderful resources out there in regards to how to understand government, the government, and how things are run. Wallbuilders.com is an awesome tool, an awesome resource. They have even
been around for a long time.
Yeah, been around for a long time.
David
They have
Barton.
Dave Barton. They have a whole bunch of homeschool resources as well. Get on there. Look at these things and sit down with your children. Read the Constitution to them. Read the Bill of Rights to them, the Declaration of Independence. Read these things with them. That's what my parents did back. We didn't have Google or anything back then. We had encyclopedias that we used to open up, and we had to read. We had to read portions of it.
Did they buy the whole set or just the?
They bought the whole set, man.
Not just the V like
No.
Joey and Friends.
Yeah, with the little samples that they would drop off right here.
Yeah.
No, my parents actually bought the whole set. Actually, and I think that was the most expensive item in our home at that time because we didn't have much money. But my father always wanted to make sure that we were educated. My brother and I were educated on America. Right, he was a patriot, served in the military, Vietnam, but we were taught these things. But if anything else, folks, sit down with your children, talk with them, and about this great nation. It's worth fighting for. Despite what Biden says that there's nothing special about being an American, there is everything special about being in this country. We are free. We are a free people.
But we got to preserve that, bro. We got to preserve that. And look, there was a time in this country when. Yeah, definitely things were a lot simpler, man. And with advancement, with technology that's come in, it's opened up a lot of doors to other things, evils and per se. These are tools that can be used for good or bad, and unfortunately, it's being used. A lot of it's being used for bad, man. But you're right. There is something to be said about remembering the old ways. It says, I think man, one of the scriptures, I think it's Isaiah, but correct me if I'm wrong, where it says, about setting up your goals, looking at the signposts that have been set up. You've got to look back to know where you're going, and you've got to keep your eyes ahead and always guide it. What keeps you on the straight and narrow are principles, man. A fear of God, fear of the law, fear of authority, and a right. Yeah. But I don't see these parents and grandparents bringing their children and their grandchildren, because that's got to be part of it, is getting them involved to learn how to preserve this country. And so we can enjoy the freedoms that we have. Like, for instance, Monday night, Dallas Cowboys beating Tampa Bay, bro. You had to. How about the Cowboys? Yeah. I had to make that little dig before we got off here. Look, some people will say, they'll throw their, whatever. And at least there wasn't, I didn't see any wokeism in the game itself. Some of the commercials are freaking horrible, terrible commercials. And, my wife and I look at each other like, man, 15, 20, 30 years ago, you wouldn't have seen this crap on TV. But just for the pure essence of it, hey, how about them Cowboys? Man, San Francisco looks pretty fearsome. But anyways, of course I had to throw that in there. They went up against the GOAT, the greatest of all time, and I think it's the new GOAT. Get out about time.
He needs to retire, bro. He needs to retire. But folks, I want to thank you so much for joining us here today, man, with Frankie Manny. Tacobout Tuesday, God willing. We'll be here next Tuesday, 8 a.m. here on Facebook. We're on Rumble. We're on YouTube. Later on, the audio will be on Podbean. You can get it also on Spotify and Amazon Music and iHeartRadio. And so we just want to thank you so much for joining us and being a part of our program this morning. And remember, pray. Call, you have every right to hold your elected officials' feet to the fire. Call their offices. Let them know how you feel. Get involved. But in the meantime, God bless you, and God bless America, and God bless Texas.